Today we're going to talk about 3 different methods to add audio to your metahuman sequence. If you're working on facial capture, you're also going to want to capture your audio so that you can then add that back to your video. So there's 3 workflows that I like to use. The first we're going to look at is using Audacity. So Audacity, if you're not familiar, is a free and open source application for editing and creating audio. So let's take a look at how to actually record audio and add that into Unreal Engine. Okay, so I have Audacity open here. This workflow is super simple. Really, all you need to do is go to Audio Setup, and in here you will set your recording device as well as your playback device. And that's about it. Okay, and so we just recorded a really short audio clip here. Now we're going to export this. Let's export it as a wave. And I'm gonna save this to, let's see. Let's drop this and let's drop this into my project folder here. So we'll hit save. We'll just leave all that empty for now. And that's it. So let's go back into Unreal Engine. Let's open up our sequence. We'll go to my cinematics folder. And here's my sitting sequence from the previous video. Okay. And then we can add, oh, actually, I guess I need to import first, right? So let's do that. So let's create an audio folder here. We'll drop the audio that we just created into that folder. We'll import that. There it is. Okay. And then once you've done that, you can go into Sequencer, add an audio track. We'll search for our audio that we just imported. Let's see, where did it go? I called it test. There we go. And there you go. So now our audio has been added to our sequence window. Okay. So this is nice, obviously, if you're working on trying to get your timing correct, or you just want to hear what your sequence sounds like with audio added in. If you're going to end up exporting to EXR, which is what I would recommend, the audio is not going to be exported as well. So really, you'll end up adding this back in post. But I like to add it in to see what the shot's going to look like and hear what it's going to sound like in between. So that is the Audacity workflow. Let's take a look at Davinci now. So I have an empty Davinci project pulled up here. First thing we want to do is create a new empty timeline. So we'll go to the Edit tab, and then we'll right click and create new timeline. Let's leave it default, timeline 1. Okay. Once you have a timeline created, that'll create your first video and audio track. And then once we switch to Fairlight, we can start recording. But before we do that, we're going to want to go into our preferences. So we'll click on the Davinci Resolve in the top left, select Preferences, and then we're going to go to Video and Audio I/O, and we need to set our input and output devices here. So I already had this set up here. It looks like it picked it up by default. If it's not, you'll want to make sure you select your microphone as well as your output device. Otherwise, when you try to set up the patching, it won't show up. All right, so let's switch to Fairlight. We now have one audio track here that's empty. So we'll go over here to our track. We'll select no input. We'll switch it to input. And then these represent our microphone. We'll select those for our audio input. And then we will select both of these for the track input. And that'll connect it to our track that's in our timeline. So we'll hit patch. We'll close that window. So now Davinci knows that it needs to take what's coming in from our microphone and record it into this track. So the next thing is we want to hit this record button here. So this will enable record. I'm going to mute the bus so that we don't hear an echo. And then we can hit record. And now we are recording some audio. Okay, and that's how you'll record your audio. Okay, so let's pause there for a second. If you're going to do either of those first methods using Audacity or Davinci Resolve, you'll want to make sure you set up your Unreal Engine project first and have Live Link enabled. That way, or live link setup with Take Recorder. That way you can record while you're doing your facial capture. So with the third method, we're going to record directly into Unreal Engine. So let's see how we can do that. And this is the method I would recommend since there's no need to set up any third-party applications. I still use Davinci for post, so I will end up exporting the whatever audio from Unreal Engine out to be used in Davinci. But the nice thing here is that you don't need to do any adjustments or anything. You can record your audio directly into Unreal Engine alongside your animation, and then you can export that once you've done your render. So let's take a look here. I'm going to close this sequence and let's open up Take Recorder. So we'll go to Windows, Cinematics, Take Recorder, and we'll drag this onto the screen here. So we're going to select two sources here. First, and actually I'm going to let's add our actor to our sequence here, because I want to apply an animation to him while we're doing our animation, our facial capture. So we're going to add our actor as a source for Take Recorder. And then additionally, we're going to add microphone audio as a source. So for microphone audio, one thing to note is you want to make sure you adjust your gain here. Otherwise, once you record, you'll have nothing in your audio track. So let's set this to a value of 1. Okay, and then we can go ahead and start recording. So let's go ahead and record just a little bit, and we'll stop that now. Okay, and then let's browse to that folder. Now you see we have an animation and an audio folder that Take Recorder created for us for that take. So let's go into the audio here. And as you can see, now we have another sound wave created. Okay, so that's similar to what we did with Audacity. You know, we imported that audio into the engine from Audacity, but there's no need for that extra step here because Take Recorder can handle everything for us. So let's go ahead and let's close Take Recorder sequence, and let's bring up our sequence again. I'll close these windows here. I'll open up our sitting sequence. So let's go ahead and add our face animation back now. Let's select our face animation. Make sure you have your timeline set to the beginning. And we'll do that one more time here. Okay, there we go. And then we're also going to add our audio track back in. Okay, so now you can see we have our audio and our animation. They're synced because we recorded them at the same time, which is very nice. Obviously, you'll do the same thing with Audacity and Davinci Resolve, but this is probably a simpler workflow since you can do everything in Engine. So that'll wrap up this video. Thanks again for watching, and until next time.